If you think not texting him is the move that will change everything, listen closely because this is where most women get stuck. They go quiet, they pull back, they wait, and deep down, they still hope he feels the loss. But silence by itself is not the message. Silence is only the door. What matters is who walks through it. If you want him to truly feel what he lost, you cannot just vanish and sit in pain. You have to rise. You have to become so focused, so calm, so different, so alive that your absence starts speaking louder than any words ever could. That is when the shift begins. That is when he stops thinking you are just upset and starts realizing you are really gone. Stay with me because this changes the whole game. No contact is not the finish line. It is the first step. The real power starts after the silence, when you stop counting the days and start rebuilding your life in a way that makes the old version of you unrecognizable. That is when the energy changes. That is when the story turns. And by the time he finally understands what he lost, you may already be too far ahead to care. A lot of women believe that if they disappear long enough, he will miss them, panic, and come running back. Sometimes he may notice, sometimes he may wonder, but if all you did was go silent while still living around the thought of him, then the energy never really changed. You are still emotionally tied to him. You are still checking your phone, replaying old moments, reading into every little thing, wondering if he looked at your story, wondering if he is dating someone else, wondering if he regrets what he did. That is not freedom. That is waiting in a quieter way. And waiting never gives you your power back. Real power begins when your life stops being a reaction to his choices. Real power starts when your mornings are no longer built around his memory, when your mood no longer rises and falls because of what he did or did not do, when your peace matters more than his attention. Listen, this is important. Men often expect access. They expect your heart to stay open even after they mishandled it. They expect time to pause for them. They assume that if they come back later, you will still be in the same emotional place where they left you. That is why simply disappearing is not enough. You must shift so deeply that he can no longer feel ownership over your energy. When that happens, he starts sensing that he did not just lose a conversation. He lost a place in your world. So what do you do instead of waiting? You redirect everything. The time you used to spend overthinking him, you spend building yourself. The energy you used to waste on sadness, you pour into your body, your peace, your goals, your routine, your future. You get stronger in every direction. You start eating better, sleeping better, thinking better. You move your body not to impress anyone, but because strength changes your spirit. You clean up your space. You fix your schedule. You go back to the plans you left behind when love became a distraction. You read more. You learn more. You save more. You become more disciplined with your mind, your money, your habits, and your circle. This is not revenge. This is recovery with direction. And let me tell you something. That kind of growth has a glow people cannot ignore. It shows in your face. It shows in your walk. It shows in the way you speak, the way you stop explaining yourself, the way you stop chasing closure from people who created confusion. That is what makes the difference. Because when he sees that you did not break, you built, the story in his head begins to crack. He expected sadness. He expected delay. He expected you to stay emotionally available. What he did not expect was evolution. And nothing shakes an ego faster than seeing someone become better after losing you. Here is the truth most people do not say out loud. He does not feel your absence the deepest when you are crying in private. He feels it when your life starts moving without him. He feels it when he sees that the world did not end for you. He feels it when your smile returns and he realizes he is no longer the reason for it. He feels it when your energy becomes lighter, your standards become higher, and your attention becomes expensive. That is the part many women miss. They think the pain will make him care, but pain only drains you. Growth is what changes the picture. Men respond to what they can see. Results matter. Movement matters. Detachment matters. If he sees the same version of you, still emotionally waiting, still easy to reach, still easy to shake, then he feels no real loss. But when he sees a woman who looks more at peace, more confident, more centered, more selective, more fulfilled, that is when something hits him. Because now he cannot comfort himself with the idea that you still belong to the past. Now he has to face the fact that you moved forward. And once a man feels that you are no longer available in the old way, his mind starts asking questions he used to ignore. That is when regret begins to grow. Do not skip this part. Your transformation is the message, not your silence alone. Your life is the message. And that transformation starts in your mind before it ever shows up in your body or your lifestyle. If you still believe your value depends on whether he chooses you, you will keep shrinking yourself for attention. You will keep trying to prove your worth to people who benefit from you doubting it. That cycle has to end. You have to decide that your worth is not on trial. You have to stop treating love like a reward you earn by suffering quietly. You have to stop making someone the center of your emotional universe just because you once cared deeply. Caring does not mean clinging. Loving does not mean losing yourself. Missing someone does not mean you belong with them. This is where many women wake up. They realize they were not just attached to a person, they were attached to the hope of being chosen, the hope of being seen, the hope that if they stayed soft enough and loyal enough, eventually the love would become safe. But hope can keep you in places your spirit has already outgrown. So now you do something different. You stop begging in your mind. You stop rehearsing conversations that will never heal you. You stop imagining the apology that may never come. You give yourself what you were waiting for from him: validation, care, tenderness, truth, protection. That is how you rebuild. Not by pretending you do not hurt, but by refusing to let hurt become your identity. Once your mind changes, your whole life starts moving in a new direction. Then comes the part people can actually see. You take care of yourself in a real way, not for a photo, not for a reaction, not for a hidden comeback story posted online for him to decode. For you, for your confidence, for your healing, you start looking like a woman who respects herself again. You wear what makes you feel alive. You return to the little things that made you feel beautiful before pain took over. You refresh your space, you refresh your style, you stand taller, you carry your hurt with less drama and more dignity. And yes, physical care matters, because when you feel better in your own skin, your entire energy shifts. You stop entering rooms asking to be loved. You start entering rooms knowing you belong there. And that alone changes everything. But do not make the mistake of turning your glow up into a performance for him. If your growth is still secretly a message for him, you are still trapped. Let your growth be private first. Let it be sacred. Let it be something that restores your relationship with yourself. Then if he sees it later, that is just a side effect. The real win is that you no longer need him to witness your progress for it to matter. That is what freedom looks like. Quiet confidence, deep peace, a life that gets better whether he returns or not. That kind of energy is rare, and it cannot be copied. It can only be lived. Now let us talk about one of the biggest traps after heartbreak. Checking on him, watching his page, asking mutual friends, looking for signs, trying to see if he misses you, trying to guess if he moved on. That habit will keep you emotionally tied to a chapter you are trying to close. Every time you check, you reopen the wound. Every time you search, you hand him your focus again. Protect your energy like it matters, because it does. Peace is expensive. Stop spending it on someone who mishandled your heart. If you really want your power back, stop feeding your mind with updates about a life you are no longer supposed to build around. Stop studying his choices like they hold the answer to your healing. They do not. Healing grows in the space where obsession ends. And yes, there will be nights when you feel weak. There will be moments when your hand reaches for the phone before your mind can stop it. There will be days when memory feels louder than wisdom. That is normal. But do not let a feeling become a decision. Sit with the urge, let it pass, breathe through it, write instead of texting, walk instead of stalking, pray instead of pleading, call a friend instead of reopening the same wound. Little by little, you train yourself to stop running back to what broke your peace. That is strength. Not acting like you never cared. Acting like you care enough about yourself now to choose better. And while you are doing that, start rebuilding the parts of your life that had nothing to do with him. This matters more than people realize. Go back to your goals. Go back to the dream you delayed. Go back to the hobby that made you lose track of time. Go back to the version of you that existed before survival became your full-time job. Maybe that means taking a class, starting a business idea, applying for the role you were scared to chase, learning a skill, traveling somewhere new, fixing your finances, or simply becoming more organized and more intentional than you have ever been before. The point is not to stay busy just to avoid pain. The point is to become invested in your own life again. There is something powerful about a woman who starts building with both hands after life tried to empty her. She becomes harder to distract, harder to confuse, harder to pull back into old patterns. And the more full your life becomes, the less room there is for emotional leftovers. That is when everything changes. Because now, if he thinks about coming back, he is not returning to the same woman he left. He is looking at someone with stronger boundaries, deeper clarity, and a life that no longer has empty space waiting for him. That realization can hit hard, not because you said anything dramatic, but because your actions made the truth visible. Another thing you have to understand is that people often take for granted what stays available. When you keep showing up after being dismissed, when you keep explaining after being ignored, when you keep offering softness to someone who only knows how to take, you accidentally teach them that your love will always remain even when they do not respect it. That lesson must end. Your absence has to mean something because your standards mean something. This is not about punishing him. It is about correcting the value of your presence. You are not common. Your care is not cheap. Your loyalty is not something people get unlimited access to while giving the bare minimum in return. Once you truly understand that, you stop begging to be chosen by people who were never showing up right. You stop trying to prove your worth to someone who benefited from misunderstanding it. And here is the twist. When you stop overgiving, stop over-explaining, stop overextending, and start living like your energy is precious, the whole dynamic changes. Suddenly the silence feels heavier to him. Suddenly the distance feels real. Suddenly what he ignored becomes unforgettable because now it is gone. This is why boundaries are attractive. They reveal value. They show that love without respect does not get unlimited chances. And when that truth lands, people see you differently. More importantly, you see yourself differently. That is the kind of shift nobody can take away from you. There is also a deeper layer to this. Sometimes heartbreak is not only about the person. Sometimes it exposes the places inside you that still need healing. The fear of being left, the fear of not being enough, the habit of accepting half love because loneliness felt heavier than disappointment. This is your chance to face all of that with courage. Not to judge yourself, but to free yourself. Ask yourself why the loss shook you so deeply. Was it only love, or was it also identity? Was it only him, or was it the dream you built around him? Was it only rejection, or did it touch old wounds that were never fully healed? This is where growth becomes real. When you stop making the whole story about him and begin seeing what the situation revealed about you, that is not weakness, that is wisdom, because the woman who heals at the root does not just get over one man, she changes her pattern, she raises her standard, she stops confusing chemistry with safety, she stops calling inconsistency passion, she stops calling emotional crumbs potential. She learns to listen to her peace. She learns to trust actions. She learns that being deeply desired means little if she is not deeply respected. And once those lessons sink in, her whole future changes. This part matters because when you heal deeply, you do not just become harder to replace, you become harder to deceive. And yes, if he sees you after all of this, it is going to land differently. Not because you are trying to make a scene, not because you posted for attention, not because you crafted some perfect image to trigger his ego. It lands because truth has a presence. A woman who has rebuilt herself carries something undeniable. She looks clearer, she sounds steadier, she moves with less noise and more certainty. There is no desperation on her, no hidden begging in her eyes, no emotional shaking in her voice. Just calm, just self-respect, just a life that kept going and got better. That is what creates impact, because now he has to confront the version of you he never expected to see. The woman who did not collapse. The woman who did not spend forever trying to be understood by someone committed to misunderstanding her. The woman who used pain as fuel. That image stays in a person's mind. And for many men, that is when regret finally becomes real. Not when you told him he would miss you, not when you tried to explain your value, but when time reveals it and your growth confirms it. Still, hear me clearly, because this is important. The point is not to build your whole comeback around his regret. His regret is not your reward. Your reward is the woman you become while refusing to abandon yourself again. So when those weak moments come, and they will, remember what you are really doing. You are not just resisting the urge to text him, you are breaking a cycle, you are choosing self-respect over temporary relief, you are choosing a stronger future over one more moment of emotional confusion. When your heart says reach out, ask yourself what you really want. Do you want love or do you want reassurance? Do you want connection or do you want relief from discomfort? Because many times what feels like missing him is really withdrawal from a pattern. And patterns can be broken, one decision at a time, one strong morning at a time, one night of not checking at a time, 1 week of choosing yourself at a time. Do not underestimate small wins. Every time you keep your dignity, every time you keep your focus, every time you put your energy back into your own life, you are becoming someone stronger than the woman who first got hurt. That growth is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it looks like getting out of bed. Sometimes it looks like deleting the draft. Sometimes it looks like saying no to what once felt impossible to walk away from. But it all counts. It all builds. And one day you wake up and realize the thing you thought would destroy you actually introduced you to your strength. That is the moment everything turns. By then, something beautiful happens. You stop asking whether he feels it because you finally feel yourself again. You feel your own value, your own rhythm, your own direction, your own standards. You stop measuring your life by who stayed and start measuring it by how deeply you now honor yourself. That is when love finds a healthier place inside you. That is when you stop treating heartbreak like proof that you are not enough and start seeing it as proof that you were asked to rise. You become more selective, more grounded, more alive, more at peace with walking away from anything that does not match the level of respect you now require. And that is powerful, because the woman who knows she is enough does not chase what broke her. She blesses the lesson, keeps the wisdom, and keeps moving. She does not need a dramatic ending. She does not need revenge. She does not need the final word. Her life becomes the final word. Her joy becomes the final word. Her standards become the final word. Her peace becomes the final word. So if you are in that place right now, hearing this with a heavy heart, let this be your reminder. Do not just go silent, rise. Do not just disappear, build. Do not just hope he feels the loss. Become so whole, so focused, so deeply rooted in your worth that the question is no longer whether he feels it. The question becomes whether he could ever reach the version of you that exists now. And that is the real ending nobody talks about enough. The goal was never just to make him miss you. The goal was to meet the woman inside you who was waiting for you to come back to her. The woman who was always enough. The woman who did not need to shrink for love. The woman who can feel deeply without losing herself. The woman who can walk away without hating. The woman who can glow without proving. the woman who knows that silence is powerful only when it is followed by transformation. So let him wonder, let him check, let him feel the gap, let him remember the warmth he mishandled, the loyalty he underestimated, the heart he assumed would stay forever. But do not pause your life to watch that happen. Keep going, keep healing, keep building, keep praying, keep learning, keep shining, keep becoming. Because the greatest message you will ever send is not, look what you lost. It is, look what I found in myself after I stopped chasing what could not hold me. That is the shift. That is the glow. That is the power. And once you step into that version of yourself, everything changes. Your choices change. Your energy changes. Your standards change. Your future changes. And by the time the past finally understands your value, you are already living at a level it can no longer touch.